The Last Sunrise, fiction story written and informative research conducted by Reuben White. Chapter 1. Shadows of Loneliness. In a quiet, picturesque small town nestled between rolling hills and a tranquil river, Alice Thompson sat by the window in her small cottage. The morning light filtered through lace curtains, casting delicate patterns on the worn wooden floor. The soft glow of dawn had once symbolized hope and new beginnings, but now it seemed to mock her solitude. Each day felt longer than the last, a monotonous stretch of hours that bled into one another without purpose. Alice, an 82-year-old widow with soft silver hair and kind eyes, had been living alone since her husband's passing 5 years ago. John had been her rock, her companion through the trials and joys of life. His laughter had filled their home, and his presence had made even the darkest days seem bearable. Without him, the house was a shell, a collection of empty rooms that echoed with silence. She looked around the room, her gaze lingering on the photographs that lined the mantelpiece. There were pictures of her children and grandchildren, but they all lived far away, caught up in their own lives. The few friends she had were either gone or too frail to visit. Her memories of vibrant family gatherings and long walks with John seemed like a distant dream, fading with each passing day. Alice's days were spent in a repetitive cycle. She would wake up, make herself a cup of tea, and sit by the window, watching the world go by. The view outside never changed much. Children playing, neighbors chatting, the occasional dog walker, but her heart ached with the silence that filled her home. Loneliness wrapped around her like a heavy blanket, suffocating her spirit and draining her of the will to engage with the world. Her thoughts were often clouded by a profound emptiness, a void that John's absence had left behind. She missed the little things, the sound of his voice, the warmth of his touch, the way he would hum softly while reading the newspaper. Her grief was a constant companion, a shadow that followed her wherever she went. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Alice found herself withdrawing more and more. She avoided answering the phone, reluctant to admit to her children how lonely she felt. She rarely left the house, her world shrinking to the confines of her small cottage. The isolation was suffocating, yet she felt powerless to change it. Chapter 2. The Weight of Illness. The local community health center was a bustling hub of activity. Patients and caregivers moved through the halls, their conversations a low hum of background noise. Alice waited in the reception area, her arthritic hands resting on her lap. She watched as people came and went, feeling a pang of envy for those who seemed to navigate their lives with ease. Her name was called, and she slowly made her way to Dr. Samuel Hayes's office. Dr. Hayes, a gentle and attentive physician in his 50s, greeted her with a warm smile. He had been her doctor for years, and he understood the deep connection between physical and mental health. "Alice, it's good to see you," he said, helping her into a chair. "How have you been feeling?" Alice sighed, the weight of her pain evident in her eyes. "The arthritis is getting worse, doctor. Some days it's hard to move at all." Dr. Hayes nodded, his expression sympathetic. "I understand. Let's see what we can do to manage the pain better." He conducted a thorough examination, noting the swelling in her joints and the stiffness in her movements. "I'll adjust your medication and recommend some physical therapy. It might help with the pain and improve your mobility." Alice nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. The pain was a constant reminder of her declining health, amplifying her sense of helplessness. Each step was a struggle, each movement a reminder of her frailty. The physical pain was relentless, feeding into her emotional distress, creating a vicious cycle of suffering. After her appointment, Alice returned home, the weight of her illness pressing down on her. She moved through the house with slow, deliberate steps, each one a painful reminder of her limitations. The once simple tasks of daily living had become monumental challenges, eroding her sense of independence and self-worth. She spent her days in a fog of frustration and despair, her mind consumed by thoughts of what she could no longer do. The activities she once enjoyed, gardening, baking, even taking walks in the park, were now beyond her reach. The physical pain was unrelenting, but it was the emotional toll that weighed heaviest on her heart. Chapter 3. Empty Chairs and Empty Hearts. The Thompson family's old living room was filled with memories but devoid of life. The furniture, though well-maintained, seemed to have lost its purpose. Each piece held a story, a fragment of a past filled with laughter and love. Now, they were mere relics of a time long gone. Emily Lawson, a compassionate social worker in her 30s, had been assigned to help seniors in the community. She knocked on Alice's door, hoping to connect and offer support. Alice hesitated before opening the door, her eyes wary but curious. "Hello, Mrs. Thompson. I'm Emily Lawson, a social worker from the community center. May I come in?" Alice nodded, stepping aside to let her in. Emily noticed the numerous family photos scattered around, capturing moments of joy now tainted by loss. She saw the weariness in Alice's eyes, the sadness that seemed to permeate the very air of the house. They sat down in the living room, the silence between them thick with unspoken words. Emily broke the ice, asking Alice about her family and her life. Slowly, Alice began to open up, her voice trembling as she talked about John and the friends she'd lost over the years. "It's hard to believe they're all gone," Alice whispered, her voice heavy with grief. "I never thought I'd be the last one left." Emily felt a mix of empathy and determination. "I'm here to help, Alice. You don't have to go through this alone." Talking about her loved ones opened old wounds, making the emptiness inside her more palpable. Alice was overcome with grief, tears streaming down her face as she recounted the loss of her husband and friends. Emily listened patiently, her heart aching for the woman before her. Emily spent the next hour with Alice, gently encouraging her to share her feelings and memories. She knew that the first step to healing was acknowledging the pain and allowing oneself to grieve. As Alice talked, Emily could see a flicker of life returning to her eyes, a small but significant step towards breaking the cycle of loneliness. Before leaving, Emily made a promise to Alice. "I'll be back to check on you, and we'll find ways to make things better. You're not alone, Alice. We'll get through this together." Chapter 4. Threads of Connection. The local community center was vibrant with activity and chatter. The cheerful atmosphere was a stark contrast to the quiet solitude of Alice's home. Emily had persuaded Alice to join a weekly seniors group, hoping that social interaction would lift her spirits. Alice was hesitant at first, feeling out of place among the lively group of seniors. She clutched her purse tightly, her eyes scanning the room for a familiar face. Emily introduced her to Robert Green, a 79-year-old retired teacher with a sharp mind but a frail body, dealing with chronic arthritis. "Hello, Alice. It's a pleasure to meet you," Robert said, his voice warm and welcoming. He gestured to the chair next to him. "Please, sit." Alice took a seat, feeling a bit more at ease. Robert began to share stories of his teaching days, his eyes sparkling with passion. "Education was my life," he said, a smile touching his lips. "Even now, I try to stay engaged with the world." They bonded over shared experiences of loss and resilience. Alice found herself opening up about John and her struggles with arthritis. Robert listened intently, nodding in understanding. "It's not easy, is it? But we have to keep going, find new reasons to wake up each day." The warmth of human connection began to thaw the ice around Alice's heart. The conversations with Robert and other members of the group brought back a sense of belonging she had lost. They shared laughs, reminisced about the past, and found solace in each other's company. Emily watched from a distance, her heart swelling with pride and hope. She saw the flicker of life returning to Alice's eyes, the small but significant changes in her demeanor. The isolation that had once suffocated her was slowly being replaced by a sense of community and support. Alice's weekly visits to the community center became a highlight of her week. She looked forward to the lively discussions, the shared activities, and the friendships that were beginning to blossom. The center became a sanctuary, a place where she could forget her worries and simply enjoy the moment. Chapter 5. Steps Toward Healing. A serene park with a winding walking trail and blooming flowers became a new haven for Alice. The fresh air and natural beauty offered a peaceful escape from the confines of her cottage. Emily encouraged her to start taking gentle walks, emphasizing the benefits of physical activity. Together they strolled through the paths, the sound of birds singing, and the rustle of leaves creating a soothing backdrop. "Nature has a way of healing us," Emily said, smiling as Alice admired the flowers. "It's like therapy for the soul." Alice felt the stirrings of renewal. Each step was a small victory against the inertia of depression. Emily felt a deep sense of fulfillment seeing Alice's gradual transformation. Currently, Chapter 6: New Beginnings. Alice's cottage, once silent, was now filled with the buzz of new activities and friendships. She hosted a small gathering at her home for the first time in years. Robert and other members of the seniors group attended. They shared stories, laughter, and a sense of camaraderie that Alice had long forgotten. Alice felt a surge of joy and belonging. The emptiness that once defined her existence was now filled with warmth and connection. Robert, too, found solace in this newfound community, and Emily watched with a heart full of satisfaction. Conclusion: the dawn of hope. Alice reflected on her journey from the depths of depression to a place of hope and healing. Through social support, professional help, and regular exercise, she had reclaimed her sense of purpose and joy. Social support, regular interactions, and participation in community activities rekindled Alice's social life. Professional help, counseling sessions with Emily and medical guidance from Dr. Hayes provided Alice with the tools to manage her depression. Exercise, gentle walks, and physical activity significantly improved Alice's mood and overall well-being. Alice's journey was like a garden returning to life after a harsh winter. The once barren soil now bloomed with vibrant flowers, each one a testament to resilience and the power of connection. The last sunrise that once signified an end, now heralded new beginnings and endless possibilities. If you are enjoying the Ageless Wisdom channel, please hit the subscribe button for future posts. The end.